can't log on to social media today without being bombarded by delectable pictures of mouth-watering food, restaurant recommendations, food travel destinations, and the list goes on and on. But who are the people behind all these pictures? With close to 100,000 followers, Brahms Chouity, known as Daddy Foodie, is one of Lebanon's most prominent food bloggers. We sat down with him to ask him about how this increasingly popular vocation came to be. You were a serial entrepreneur. You still are, but you really started, you had over 30 startups, was it?
That's right, yeah.
So do you still consider yourself an entrepreneur after all this?
I don't think you can consider yourself not an entrepreneur if you really are one. You're always on the lookout for new ideas, and you're always on the lookout for new opportunities. And I'm still on the lookout for my next one.
You started your first company in 2005. It was called Trait d'Union, a hospitality investment consulting firm that secured large projects all over the Gulf region. Eventually, a year later, you set up a franchise called Quintessentially. A lot of the clients that you had were also friends, and you became their personal concierge.
Absolutely.
And I was like, well, hold on, that sounds like a secretary, but that's not what you were doing.
It's a very high-end personal assistant.
Okay.
It's exactly what it is. It's a luxury travel agent. You would take care of their lifestyle needs, such as travel, hotel bookings, private jets, all the way down to their nitty-gritty, such as preparing the proposals, such as getting them tickets to sold-out events, such as having dinner with Angelina Jolie. These are the kind of...
So it's a lot of PR as well.
It's a huge amount of PR. And mind you, those days there was no internet. There was no smartphones. So we had to do everything old school.
But it all kind of came to an end. And then you said, all right, this is too much to take. I want to follow my heart, which is food.
Absolutely.
So how did that come about?
I've been a natural foodie ever since I can remember. I mean, at the age of 8, I was the one ordering for everybody at the table. So, and I actually, thanks to my parents, was able to go to the world's most prestigious hotel management school in Lausanne. So everything was geared for me to be highly active in the food industry. And surprisingly, I'm not. I've never opened any venture or any company or any business in the food world.
Right.
Because it was always my passion.
Right.
So it was always something I loved. I could never see myself enslaved to this business. So fast forward 20 years as a professional, and once we had our second child, I took some time to myself and to really think about what I wanted to do. And I said to myself, this passion of mine, this fire that I have inside me, I need to let it out, and I need to invest myself in the food world. So I thought to myself, what shall I do? Should I go out and open a business, a food business, a restaurant, a food truck? And I said to myself, you know what? People like the way I cook. People like the way I talk about food. So I wanted to convey this message and inflict them with this bug that I have. And I thought content management and storytelling would be the way.
Right. So it's funny, you say content manager, because how does it really work? Because there are a lot of aspiring food bloggers, or, food is a big one. I think fashion and food are amongst the top in the world. How is it sustainable?
Okay, I think it's a mix of two things.
Okay.
One, it's a mix of personality and content. You really need to be interesting, or else no one's going to follow you. And because there's so much competition out there, you really need to differentiate yourself. I did that using my character. At that time, everybody was just posting food pics. I said to myself, why don't I showcase these food pics with myself in it? So I became a part of the story. At one of my TED Talks, I said that Daddy Foodie was successful because I treated it the same way I would treat one of my companies. And so once you built it and operated it like a business, having a good PR, coming back to your clients on time, delivering your content on brief, then you become successful.
Before Daddy Foodie started, and what really brought this upon you, is I know with over 30 startups, you really ran yourself to the ground, and it all came to a crash when you were diagnosed with cancer. I know many of our viewers could be going through that, or are cancer survivors themselves. How does that change your approach to life?
Completely. I'm a completely different person after that. The things that you took for granted.
That's when you took a step back and you said,
yes,
all right.
I actually took a year off.
You were diagnosed with cancer at the age of?
38.
Yeah, very young.
Yeah.
And it made you, it put things in perspective.
It put everything in perspective. It completely changed me. There's like me before the sickness and me afterwards.
And Daddy Foodie really was after.
You value the things that you maybe didn't, or you took for granted beforehand. Time is incredibly important to me right now. Health and quality time with your family. In 2006 and 2007, I used to take over 90 flights a year just to cater to my clients' needs. Whereas right now, I would put my health forward and my time with my family forward. So you value these things more coming out of an experience like that.
And that's really what pushed you to say, well,
exactly.
you know, I need to really do what I want to do.
So when I took a step back and I said to myself, all right, so with this limited time that I have, what's the greatest thing, or what's the thing that would give me the greatest pleasure? And that's telling the story of food to people.
Some of your critics say, well, quality content is important, but a person who posts pictures with hamburgers is far from being defined as quality content. What do you say to that?
You caught me off guard on that one.
I'm sorry.
And content is incredibly subjective. And as long as it's true to the person that's created it, I have no problem with it whatsoever. You can't please everyone. We're not in the people-pleasing business. We're in the presenting ourselves in the most natural and transparent way possible. I'm obsessed with food, and burgers seem to top the list for me. So as long as I'm true to myself, then I accept.
Either it goes through or
of course, and I accept the criticism that for that person, it's not considered quality content.
What would you say are some of the challenges that you faced?
Constantly having to reinvent content to make it attractive to people.
How do you maintain once you've reached that segment where people and different brands are coming to you, different restaurants, I'm guessing,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And brands as well.
And lifestyle brands.
How do you maintain that level of interaction, that level of, I have to constantly reinvent myself?
It's hard. It's not easy. You have to constantly be creative. Inspiring myself by what's going on outside, by looking at other influencers for inspiration. And honesty is me. The more I mature, the more things change in my personality or in my habits. These are the kinds of things that I convey.
This hasn't even been a year yet, and you have 100,000 followers. Did you buy any of these followers?
No, but listen to what I do. Every time I make a deal with a big client, in the contract there's a clause that says that a certain percentage of the budget has to be for boosting my page. I mean, they're not like purchased followers. These are like advertised followers who saw my content and
then
came.
decided to follow you.
Exactly. So you have half that's organic,
all right,
and that's purely me, that I grew the content, and half is what I grew from clients.
What is the future for Daddy Foodie?
In all honesty, my answer is I don't know, for the simple purpose is that I never started out building Daddy Foodie thinking it's going to become a business.
And became what it is.
Not at all. I opened it as like a pastime for me to get out of my slump. I just wanted to get out of bed in the morning and do something that motivates me and gets me excited. And that's posting pics of food. I never imagined becoming a influencer.
It became your own motivation in a way.
It did.
Right?
It did, absolutely.
Right, because you did go through a period of, where you were
Of
down
darkness.
and you thought,
yeah, absolutely. It motivated me. Like I told you, it gave me a bit of purpose to wake up every morning and do something fun. So it was always a release for me. It was never a structured business. And that's what it's become today.
Your advice to the youth or anybody who wants to get into food blogging, stay true to yourself.
Absolutely.
Right.
Stay true to yourself and be creative and give me a reason to come to your page as opposed to someone else. That's the problem with what I see right now. Everybody's doing the same thing. Nobody wants to risk showing themselves or risk doing something different.
Because you're so scrutinized with social media, right? You're under this lens.
It's two things.
Right.
One, we hate criticism and we hate scrutiny. And two, as Arabs, we don't like putting ourselves out there. We're a little bit shy.
We're starting to see it
I always
change.
tell these people, put your face. بستحي بركي ما حبوني.
What if they didn't like you?
Yeah.
We're always scared of the criticism of not being liked.
Absolutely.
Wanting
And
to
that's
be
what I mean by put
perfectionist.
yourself out there. And that's what I mean about the shyness.
And it's okay. It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay. It's food at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, yeah,
All right.
that's what it's all about.
Joined by his food-loving friends, Christine Maalouf, known as Beirut Fitness, and Louis Yammine, known as Louis Made It, we learned a few tricks of the trade and satiated our palate.
I'm going to cook, and I'm going to let them tell you about how they take it.
Let's do this.
Cool?
Let's do it.
Crunch, crunch.
Oh, you have
There you go.
Listen, I'm not a food blogger.
Salt the meat, not my hand. Then we're going to open. Make sure that it's super, super hot because you want the meat to caramelize, okay? Christine is going to put us a little bit of olive oil right in the middle.
For me, every kind of dish has an angle. It can be a top shot, it can be an angle shot, and it can be a side shot. So for me, first is table presentation, food styling, and then taking the right shot with natural light.
He's very detailed.
Very meticulous.
Did you notice that?
Very OCD. So what we're doing right now is caramelizing one edge of the meat.
Okay.
So you have that, you know, deep, meaty flavor.
Yeah.
Because what I hate about eating out in restaurants is that you bite into it and it's like great.
It's mushy.
With confidence. There you go.
I try to keep it true to myself. Like, I post everything that I actually do, all the products I've actually tried. So mainly like consistency and being true to my followers, because it's just like I'm sharing my own personal experience.
Okay, perfect. This is love juice. We want to give the burger as much love as possible. So even
that's nice.
the bread itself.
And there's onions and garlic in there?
There's garlic, butter, olive oil, salt, and pepper.
And now, we're gonna toast that bun.
There's two more elements, right? There is the caramelized onions, who've been caramelizing for 4 hours.
Oh, really?
With a balsamic reduction,
Yeah.
and olive oil, etc. And there's the Daddy Foodie sauce. It's basically a Thousand Island sauce on crack.
What's crack?
Sriracha.
Is anybody else hungry?
There you go, with confidence.
Onion jam.
Exactly, it's basically onion jam.
Wow.
It's like a chutney.
I think in every picture we should have some red, yellow, and green. For me, this is how the picture comes to life. And in this particular burger, it's messy and it's huge, so we might need some food styling utensils to make it happen. So we're gonna maneuver one toothpick here. I prefer to take my shots in an indirect light, which means in the shade, because too much sun burns the picture. It's a bit messier than I would like it to be, but we can still make that happen.
But you can't control that, can you, all the
Yeah,
time?
absolutely, we can.
Okay, go
by
ahead.
playing with the angle.
How did you learn all these little techniques?
Trial and error.
Trial and error. Yeah.
And
Did
by
you get
studying other
feedback?
people's pictures and other people's blogs and other people's techniques. If you feel this is too angled, what I do is I do this.
Really?
Right? Yes. And then
It changes
and then-
everything. You just flipped your
yes.
phone.
If you want to hold it with both hands from the back, I think it will cover the messiness. There you go.
It's dripping.
It's okay. It's okay. It's just love juice. Boom. I'm done.
You can post this?
I can definitely post it with
Nice!
some editing.
How do you edit, sir?
I can tell you I use 3 apps. One of them is Lightroom on the desktop.
What better way to end Y Chats than on this delicious note? We will see you for Season 2 starting this September. If you like this episode of Y Chats and want to see more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click, click, click!